Chihara brothers have been fishing these waters for nearly half a century. Okinawa was once called the land of the immortals. Now it is known as the Islands of the Aged, the place where people live longer and healthier than anywhere else. For as long as humans have lived, many have wanted to live for longer. The Okinawans can show the rest of us how it's done. This 88-year-old farmer still works an 11-hour day, every day of the week. The typical Okinawan lives for more than 80 years, women for 86. And that's just an average. As a proportion of population, there are 4 times as many people over 100 than anywhere on the planet. Bullfighting, Okinawan style. It's similar to sumo. Urged on by their stable masters, 2 heavyweights throw themselves at each other until one submits.
The Okinawan elderly don't just live very long lives, they live incredibly healthy and active ones. Whereas in Australia we tend to celebrate the exploits of the young, particularly on the sporting field, here it's the actions of the aged that capture the imagination. The 96-year-old man who beat up a former boxing champ who was in his 30s, for example. Everywhere you look, you see people who are elderly, but they're definitely not acting their age.
Minoru Gushiken is 93 and a bullfighting fanatic. You've heard of the Karate Kid, well, meet the Karate Great-Granddad. Ryoko Tomoyose is 75 years old. He's attained karate's highest ranking, which is hardly surprising, given that he's been practicing for more than 6 decades. His sparring partner is also in his mid-70s, as are several other members of the class. Okinawans invented karate, and it's considered an important form of exercise, a martial art that extends life rather than shortening it.
Karate is not to kill, but to keep your health. No, sweep away all stress. I have never been in hospital in my life.
You've never been in hospital?
Today, never been in hospital.
That's incredible, particularly to people from Australia. What is the secret of your health in that case?
Don't drink too much and always relax. Never hasty, never haste, just relax. Always think, well, it will be done someday. That's Okinawan life.
Okinawa is the healthiest place on the planet. Despite the number of old people, dementia is rare. The other ravages of ageing virtually unheard of.
Compared to other areas of the world, we see about 1/4 of the incidence of heart disease in Okinawa, very low rates of stroke compared to mainland Japan in particular, low rates of particular kinds of cancers, particularly hormone-dependent cancers such as breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer.
こんにちは。もう一回やっちゃった。こんにちはね。おばちゃんのお名前は
Craig Wilcox is what's known as a medical anthropologist. Along with Professor Makoto Suzuki, he's part of a team that spent the last quarter of a century researching Okinawa's health and habits, trying to uncover its secrets. Today, they're visiting one of the region's few nursing homes. It's more like a country club than a place where people come to die. And it's not just genetics. Studies have shown that when Okinawans migrate, they become like the rest of us. Lifestyle is what's important. So what is Okinawa's secret? To find the answer, I travelled north to a remarkable village full of remarkable people. Ogimi is nestled between the mountains and the sea. The village is one of Okinawa's poorest, but it has the longest life expectancy. 12 of the locals are centenarians. On the outskirts of town stands a stone tablet. At 80 you are still a child, it reads, and if at 90 heaven calls, say, go away and come back when I am 100. Nearby lives Ogimi's most famous resident. I decided to pay a house call.
Ohayo gozaimasu, Oba-chan. Hajimemashite. O genki desu ka?
Ushi Okushima is 103. When she was born, the Wright brothers had still not made their historic flight.
おばもうこんな人以上にこんな健康も長生きして孫なんかとも一番こんないろいろ番になった話こうやったりするこれが一番楽しみだからもっともっと長生きもっと 4,5 年でももう長生きしたいねと思ってる。
I wasn't the only visitor. Each morning, some of the Ogami elders meet to drink tea. Their ages add up to nearly 500. The professors believe the strong sense of community ensures no one gets lonely or depressed and is a key contributor to long life.
よく働きよく食べて
この部落はね、漁業さ魚取りであったからみんな非常に魚食べてみんなこんな健康よ。刺身食べたり、食べたり。朝よ。
Here, women are the spiritual leaders, revered and respected. Okushima-san has 13 grandchildren, 22 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild. She's lived in Ogami her entire life and says her most profound memory is losing her husband in the war.
どうして私はこのたくさんの子供を育てていくかねと一番これが心配して長生きもできるかねと思ったらこれから自分で子供なんか育てらんといかないねと思うと商売始まってね。
Okushima-san doesn't use glasses or a hearing aid and doesn't need a cane. Most days, the 103-year-old works in the fields or works out at home.
はい、それ。
あなたは可愛いです。どうも。
余計可愛い。
ああ、ではありません。
And that's another reason why Okinawans live so long. They keep incredibly active. The fields around Ogami are full of 90-year-olds harvesting their dinners. There's no word for retirement in the local dialect.
Most of these centenarians, these people that have lived these very long lives, have not led stress-free lives. They've experienced the horrors of war. All of them were poor and had to work very hard throughout their lives. But they've developed this kind of psychological resilience. So we think that this is one factor that has helped them throughout their lives.
The other key ingredient is a traditional diet. The doctors took me to a local restaurant where they served up a recipe for long life.
Mark, why don't you try some of this? This is called mimiga.
Mimiga.
Right.
A bit suspicious of this because I do know what the Japanese word mimi means. Right.
Mimi means ear, and my suspicions were quickly confirmed. Very low in fat but high in calcium, it apparently helps heal wounds.
Tastes very nice, actually. It's chewy.
Well, actually, they say in Okinawa, the pig can be eaten from head to tail. Everything but the voice.
Does this apply to all ears then, or just pig ears?
Sticky question.
Okinawans tend to eat lean meat, fish, tofu and vegetables, low in calories, high in carbohydrates. Their intake is the opposite of the low-carb, high-fat Atkins diet proving so popular in the West.
Well, it's what we think of as a passport towards a heart attack.
In the kitchen, the chef is preparing goya, a bitter, knobbly melon that some think is the reason people live so long. The doctors believe dark-coloured vegetables are much better for you than light ones. Sweet potato, an Okinawan staple, is far more nutritious than a garden variety potato.
One sweet potato, one medium-sized baked sweet potato contains over 20,000 international units of beta-carotene vitamin A. That's 4 times your daily minimum requirements. Also, half your daily needs of vitamin C. They're loaded
Really?
with fiber.
One sweet potato.
One sweet potato. You can imagine if people were eating this as their staple.
In many ways, Okinawa is a paradise, but it's also a paradise that's being lost. The islands have been transformed. Stress levels are rising, lifestyles are changing, and the secrets that have sustained the remarkable longevity are being forgotten.
On one of Okinawa's massive American bases, a fighter pilot is preparing to patrol the skies. 1/4 of the local population was killed during World War II when the United States invaded. Today, the occupation continues. US bases cover 20% of the island's land and cast a long shadow over the rest. Many older Okinawans are appalled, but many of the young are enthralled by the foreign culture. Young people are flocking from the countrysides to the cities, where they're seduced by the American influence. On the streets of the capital, baseball caps and US military dog tags are the unofficial uniform. Shops do a roaring trade dishing out American culture and cuisine. Hot dogs, hamburgers and fries are cool. Goya and pig's ears boring leftovers from another time. Modern life, with its medical advances and miracle cures, is meant to extend life, but in Okinawa, it's shortening it, a development with implications for people everywhere. Obesity rates are booming, and lung cancer is growing faster here than anywhere else in Japan. These young people will not live nearly as long as their grandparents. Average life expectancy is already starting to slide.
And what we've seen in Okinawa over the past 30 years or so is a population that's gone from having some of the leanest people in Japan to having the highest body mass index among the Japanese.
The Okinawan elders have changed little, but the world around them has been transformed. Every country has a generation gap, but here it is becoming a yawning chasm.
若いのが本当に親孝の気持ちがなかったら将来は危ないなと私も思っています。
The land of the immortals is losing its identity, caught between cultures. For these men and women, the irony is as bitter as Goya. Just as some in Western countries are seeking to follow the Okinawan path, the island's young are leaving it.